try and speak from the heart. We've been here for a long time. First known as, if you want to say, savages, uneducated, unreformed, and any other adjective that settlers used to identify us as indigenous peoples that are now settlers. It evolved from First Nations. It's taken turns in history, which really doesn't depict us in a new light. But I will say this, we're resilient, we have been nomadic, we've moved from, I'm trying to learn my learned friend here, Mr. Rappaport, that we've migrated from the Carolinas, west of Ottawa, north close to Quebec City, have aligned with the French, the English, the Dutch, have aligned with our brothers and sisters, Huron-Wendat, Algonquin, and every other nation that was, I'll say, advantageous to the Mohawk position and direction at the time historically, again, including the French. We fought alongside them, we fought against them, as well as the Dutch and the English. But we don't hold it against them historically. We're here to share our land, to share our culture, to share our language if you wish to learn it, and we'll never impose it on you. We come from a doctrine in our language called the swamp. It's Turo-Wampo, where two canoes go down the river of life, two vessels, if you will, never to crisscross, impede each other, nor legislate over each other. Obviously, that hasn't worked historically in our favor. We are a welcoming people trying to ensure that 7 generations forward, our children's grandchildren would have the same opportunities we would on the land that we've been able to develop and share with the people who we've welcomed to all parts of this land. It has not been reciprocal for obvious reasons, economically, politically, and otherwise. But again, we've survived and will continue to survive. They've taken our land, putting us on postage stamps across this country, more specifically here in Quebec and Kahnawke and the other 44 territories that are speckled along Quebec. And the amount of disrespect now that this provincial government under Legault, I've never witnessed. Thank you. For the kind words, I know they're provided by our PR department, but I've met with premiers in the past as Grand Chief or as the Economic Development Portfolio Chief, and it's always been cordial. It's never been easy. Sometimes the discussions have been difficult, but at least it was man-to-man or woman-to-woman, face-to-face, and we could talk things through. This government refuses to do that. We had a Grand Chief who had sat in the role prior to me for 22 years, came back in 2015, and sat for almost 6 years, passed away. But in the term after the CEQ government became in power, didn't acknowledge. We send letters of acknowledgement and congratulations to every provincial premier and government that gets elected, as long as I've been involved in politics since 1998. It hasn't been reciprocal for the last 4+ years. I can't say I don't understand, because I will admit that Monsieur Legault has played smart politics because he's got the numbers. And politics, unfortunately, a lot of times is about that. But to tread on the livelihood eventually, and I'm glad that the gentleman who's coordinated this understands it and brought this forward. The symbolism in BEC is amazing, because our elders taught us long ago, thousands of years ago, bind the arrows and they're stronger than one. I mean, we are stronger together, says it all. In any case, back to Monsieur Legault. We don't understand why he will not sit down and speak with us. Our Grand Chief has met him on a couple of occasions, and they're cordial engagements, but does not reciprocate in writing, does not do things behind closed doors that show he respects, never mind only Indigenous or Mohawk, but anybody other than the Francophone and the language and culture. And let me be very forward. Moi, je parle français. The majority of my community does not. There's been a mental block for thousands of years. Like I said, we fought alongside and fought against, but we don't hate the French. We don't hate anyone. We're a welcoming people trying to ensure the survival of our culture, our language, our way of life based on our traditions. We don't understand why we can't live side by side any longer, including all of the cultures that sit here in front of me today. So we will survive. I believe you will survive as well. And we will come out on top at the end of the day. We've been lobbying Minister Lametti at the Federal Department of Justice and Attorney General of Canada, and now recently have sort of cracked that silence where they're going to intervene in Bill 21. And we believe it's a precursor for the federal government to eventually become involved and intervene in Bill 96 as well. And you're absolutely right saying they're waiting until after the election because they were going to get reelected regardless. We weren't going to stand in the way. We don't vote. We don't believe, like I said, in the two canoes. If we were to vote in a provincial, federal, or any other type of election, we're interfering in somebody else's politics. And we won't do that for those reasons. Nor will they ever try, or will be allowed in ours, all jokes aside. But I mean, this government I've never witnessed. We've had good discussions with the Partis Québécois going back decades. They helped us build their own hospital. They had the same understanding. They were nationalists, continue to be nationalists, but they understood and were able to work with us. We've had good dealings with every other party in this province as well, other than the CAQ. And again, we really don't understand. So, in closing, I'll just say we are here for support. We will continue to fight on an Indigenous basis. We understand and appreciate that a lot of what is being discussed and moved forward today is based on Canadian Constitution, and we respect that. We are Canadian. We have our own Constitution. We push that forward. We believe that is how we've been able to survive and thrive for hundreds, if not thousands of years, in the face of consistent oppression. I won't talk about residential school, it's a totally different issue at this point, but it's been tried to be taken away from us at every step of Canadian history. Now the provincial government is going beyond what Canada has done, ensuring again the stripping of our identity. We don't need them to protect our language, we don't need them to protect our culture, we just need them to respect it. And mark my words, it will happen. Thank you.
We'll continue fighting the good fight, right? Thank you for that.